Welcome to the Family Brand Show. We're Chris and Melissa Smith of FamilyBrand.com, husband and wife, parents of 5, and we want to help you take back your family and to live life on your terms.
And we know being a family can feel really overwhelming. Parents tell us they feel like they're being pulled in a million different directions. It's so challenging to navigate the uncertainty and all the chaos that's happening in the world right now.
And that's why we want to bring you every single week actionable tips and strategies that you can implement in your daily life to become a better parent, to become a better spouse, and to build a stronger family. And look, there's never been a better time and a more important time than right now to take back your family. You can define what your family stands for, or the world is going to do it for you. And the world needs strong families now more than ever. And it starts right here with your family.
Okay, on this episode of podcast, I have a very distinguished, important guest, and his name is Taylor. And Taylor is 24, and Taylor is my brother. Welcome to the podcast, Taylor.
Thank you. Nice to meet everyone.
Taylor just happens to be at my house right now because our oldest, Tate, he graduated last night, and Taylor was visiting, and for some reason, my youngest daughter, Indy, was like, Mom, why have you never had Taylor on the podcast? And I was like, do you know what? That's funny you ask, because I have actually brainstormed an episode that I would love to shoot with Taylor. And even Chris was like, oh yeah, Melissa's told me about this before. So I truly have thought about doing this episode before. And I had him here, and I don't think he's that excited about recording today, but he has agreed to do it. And I'm very grateful because I think this will be a very interesting episode. So I am the oldest in my family. Taylor's the youngest, and there are 9 kids in our family, it's a big family by, I think, any standards today. And so I thought it would be interesting. Well, I want to get Taylor talking here soon, but I do feel like there's a little bit of backstory that I want to add, like why I wanted to do this episode and why, maybe what's the catalyst for these ideas. But I'm sure I want to get Taylor again. I want to get Taylor talking here soon, but Taylor, maybe just give us a little bit of backstory about who you are and like where you're at in your life right now, what it looks like.
Gotcha. Yeah. Right now I'm 24. I just graduated from ASU in December and then started working. So got my first full-time big boy grown-up job. It's going well. Enjoying it so far.
Yeah, you got a great job in your degrees in
finance.
Yes.
So yeah, working in the financial field, just getting kind of my feet wet there, starting off and hoping to go make it a career.
And when Taylor, okay, so I was like a month shy of 17 when Taylor was born, and Chris and I got married. I got married when I was 20, and then I had Tate when I was 22. So the age difference between my oldest and Taylor is not that much. Like, okay, you were born in 2001.
Yeah, a little less than 6 years, I think.
Yeah. So like Tate and Taylor are much, much closer in age than me and my actual brother, which is kind of weird. In fact, I remember one time, you would have been like in first grade, second, maybe. I brought Tate to school for, do you remember this? It was like a show and tell, or maybe it could have been with Doug.
It does sound familiar, yeah.
But like Taylor had told people he was an uncle, and everyone was like, you're not an uncle. But he was an uncle at 5.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep. 5 years old.
So in some ways, I felt like me and my mom were raising kids together in some ways. But anyway, the catalyst for this was you may know on Instagram, there's a woman named Hannah Neeleman. Her handle is Ballerina Barnes, and she recently gave birth to her 9th child. And it was very, the whole experience was very highly engaged. I looked it up on chat beforehand to be like, hey, give me a breakdown of like the public response to her announcing her 9th baby. And it was very engaged and the reaction was very mixed. And I just thought, and some people were saying like, oh my gosh, her poor kids, and other people were like, oh my gosh, this is goals. Like, I love this. It was just very polarizing. And I was just thinking, you know what? I wonder what do her kids think and her older kids. And then I realized, you know what? I have this exact situation that I could talk about with me and my brother. So I'm hoping this will just be a raw and authentic conversation about what is it like having a big family, being the oldest and being the youngest and having a lot of siblings, were there like, what were the things that we loved about it? Maybe there were things we didn't love about it, but I think it's super interesting conversation. I'm excited to hear Taylor's perspective. Maybe some things that I've never talked to him about before, like sitting in his shoes for a minute, being like, what was it like being the youngest of 9 versus the oldest of 9? But with Hannah, it was, people were saying there was like 3 main camps. This is what chat is telling me. There were those who had admiration and celebration of it, saw it as beautiful, inspiring motherhood. Second camp was skepticism and criticism, questioning, is this even attainable, or is this even real? Like that a family could do this today? And then the third camp was fascination and curiosity. Like, how does she do it? What is it actually like raising 9 kids? And why it sparked such strong reactions was this ideas like modern versus traditional family values, social media versus reality, motherhood identity and expectations, wealth, support systems, and transparency. They're all very interesting. And so much of our life is our own perceptions and our own experiences. And so mine and Taylor's experience, it's not going to be what her kids are probably experiencing, but I just thought it'd be interesting to have a perspective from someone in that exact situation of 9 kids. Okay, I'm going to start with, this is actually hilarious. So when as I said, was 16, almost 17 when Taylor was born, and I was asked to write a paper my senior year. So this would have been when Taylor was like a year and a half in English class. And I don't even remember the exact assignment, but I wrote this paper, and my dad loves bringing this paper out and like showing everyone. Does he?
He does. Any chance.
So,
he gets it'll come up somehow.
And in fact, when I was mentioning it to Taylor was like, oh yeah, I have a copy of it on my phone, because I don't know why. Why do you have this on your phone?
I don't remember. I think I didn't really hear about it until probably 4 or 5 years ago. My dad had a picture of it, and I think he sent it to me, and I'm just like, take a look at this. So I saved it because it is pretty funny.
Okay. So I'm going to read it. It's quite short, but this was like my authentic experience as a 16-year-old when my parents announced that they were having their 9th child. So here it is. It says, I am the oldest of 9 children. My parents said that they were done having children after number 7. So the announcement of number 8 was fairly well received, but number 9 came out of nowhere, like bird poop falling from the sky, which I do remember in the assignment. We were like, part of the rubric was you had to use like, what is that? Part
Simile,
of speech. Yeah, like a simile. So that was my attempt at simile, but okay. My 2 oldest brothers, my parents and I were on our way back from a weekend trip to Utah. The date was April 1st, April Fool's Day. I don't remember exactly how she said it, but she got her point across. My mom was going to have another baby. Immediately, my mind began to spin with the notion. I remembered all the people staring when we were on our family vacations, in like past vacations and years. I remember the people pointing and counting as our little family walked by. I remember all the rude, hushed comments that were never meant to be heard, but always were. I actually do remember that. People would always be like, whoa, look at them. They've been busy. That wasn't in the paper. That's just my little anecdote I'm adding. So at that moment, I selfishly decided that another child was one of the last things our family needed. We were 8 strong already, for heaven's sakes. We did not need another child. I feel bad reading this in front of you. The trip continued in silence. The trip ended in silence. I think each of us 3 children were hoping that this was some cruel April Fool's joke. And then on April 2nd, my mom would no longer be expecting, oh my gosh, this is terrible. These wishes were in vain. The months progressed, and my mother had her 9th child at the end of August. So fast forward, he is now a year and a half old, and he's adored by the whole family. He, in turn, comes alive in the presence of each and every family member. He brings out the compassion in my teenage brothers. He's a playmate for the 2 youngest boys. The girls all love playing mother to their little boy. He makes our family complete. This summer, we will take our first big family vacation since his birth. Although I know I will still despise the ignorant people who make rude offhand comments, or the people who unknowingly allow their eyes to almost bulge out of their heads as our family walks by, I know that our family has something that they do not. Not only do we have a family of 11, but we also have a family of 11 friends. Even though it is hard, if given the option or the chance, there's no way I can imagine our family any other way.
Good ending.
It ended well. I feel bad about the middle part, but that was like truly how I felt about it at the time. And I don't know. I guess I don't have anything like super thought out or planned for this episode as far as like a list of questions that I want to ask you, Taylor. But what was it like? This is what I want to know. What was it like for you growing up as the youngest of 9? That's a big question, but
Yeah.
take a stab at it.
Yeah. I think it was great. I loved it. I think it was probably a very different experience than what you had. Just like from reading that, like my memory doesn't go back to when everyone was at home. So in some ways it's like, even though I do have 8 older siblings, I don't remember when everyone was at home. So
Yeah.
I don't have that part of the experience, I guess, of like going on vacation and hearing everyone talk or being worried
Yeah.
about those things
Yeah.
at the time that was happening. So that was probably a little bit different than what you experienced. But I mean, we always had a full house growing up, though, even if you and the few older siblings were gone. But I always really enjoyed just having a ton of people at home. And then once, like you were saying, Tate's just 5 years younger than me. So
Yeah.
having nieces and nephews at such a young age, I really loved too, because I played with them and hung out with them whenever you guys would come over, and still do. So I feel like, got to be close, really close with my nieces and nephews, which I love spending time with them too. So
You're a good uncle. Taylor's a good uncle. He is.
thanks. I do enjoy it. But yeah, as far as like an outsider's perspective, I do always get the question of like, that must have been so crazy growing up, or like, how'd you even put up with that? And then we were just talking just before filming this. It's just like, that's how it was. That's how I grew up. So it was normal. I never really thought of it as being weird or different. And it didn't feel weird or different to me because that's what I was brought up in. And so, yeah, overall, it was a good experience. I don't feel like I was neglected or left out at the end. I guess even like maybe on the other hand, I had 8 older siblings all doting on me,
Yeah.
vying for my attention at points. I'm sure when I was really little, especially. So
I feel like I always get the question or the assumption like, oh, you must have had to babysit a lot, or you must have gotten tired of that. Or I think for me, again, that's like the interesting thing about this conversation is one person's experience as the oldest of 9 could be night and day to another person's experience, even as the oldest of 9. But I don't feel like I had never resented having to watch the kids or stay home. And I don't feel like I've had some people with big families who are towards the top say like, well, I never wanted to have my own children because I felt like I had already raised children. I feel like although I did watch kids, I never felt like I didn't get to live my life or that I had already raised kids, which I'm grateful for, I guess, mom and dad for that. I do love having a big family. It's fun to have, like, recently our trip, he turned 11, and all he wanted to do for his birthday is we were going to be down by my parents. My parents live a couple hours from us. We were going to be by my parents' house, and what he wanted for his birthday is like, let's invite all the cousins over because there's a bunch of little boy cousins, and I want to play football. So they had this like epic football game. We ordered pizza, and then anyway, it was just like so fun, and that's what he wanted for his birthday. So even the effects of the big family, I think, carry on, and there's like cousins, and yeah, it's been cool watching everyone grow up and seeing people become friends and cousins and everything.
yeah, I think that's something I can speak on too, is just like in recent years, I guess like just getting closer to siblings growing up. Like when I was younger, you and Jordan and Jason, the 3 oldest, and even, it keeps going, but you guys were so much older than me that it was like we didn't spend all that much time or like have the same interests or same things we were interested in or like to do together.
Totally.
But now that we're all adults and like grown up, I know like you guys are a little bit further away, so don't hang out or get to spend as much time with you, but just like going to hang out with my brothers, Jason, Jordan, and Daniel mostly, is just like now we can just hang out, and they're some of my closest and best friends. So that's something I truly appreciate about having a big family, and especially our family. I feel like we're all close, and we've always been close and stay close. So I think it's like, couldn't imagine it being any other way. Obviously, being at the end, especially, like, just known this is what I've known, and I'm glad that it is that way.
How do you think, like, if there's someone listening who's like, I don't know what you're describing, and it is true that I know that they get together. Who's the ringleader of you brothers? Like, hey, let's get together. Let's, like, is there one
I feel
person?
like probably Jordan is the one reaching out to us most, getting us together. But I don't know. We have a group chat, so someone will just put in there, guys want to hang this week?
Which I think is so cool. I love that. And maybe where I was going, this is for someone listening who's like, oh, I want to be closer with my own siblings, or I want my kids to be close. Like, what are the ingredients that are creating closeness for you? And like some of the things you're saying are a group text thread or chat, someone like actually inviting, putting themselves out there in a way and creating the time. But then I feel like you guys are all prioritizing it, like you make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think it would be easy for especially like Jordan and Jason with kids, like, to get busy and not spend other time with siblings. So yeah, I think that is something important. But it really does, it just feels like hanging out with friends, you know?
Yeah.
We'll just do whatever.
It's cool.
Yeah.
I feel like I have that, or had that maybe a little bit. In fact, it just came up on my memories 2 years ago. 2 years ago at this time of recording in May. I went with my 3 sisters to Paris, and we'd never taken a girls trip before, and we just went for the big one, and it was so fun. And I remember that trip being like the first time, well, because the last few years, like, I lived in Hawaii for a year, and then one of my sisters moved to Oregon, and I've been so much older than a lot of them too. Like, I'm 10 years older than my youngest sister. And so we've always been in different life places, like you're describing. Like, you know, when I was 20, she was 10. When I was 30 and had several kids already, she was 20. So we've just been in such different places. And although I would say we were friends, I feel like that trip a couple of years ago was, in fact, I turned 40 that year and she turned 30 that year. And I remember feeling, maybe for the first time, like, oh, wow, I'm like, well, and there wasn't like a bunch of kids there, which I think sometimes has gotten in the way of like conversation with some of my sisters, is like, if all of our little kids are like needing help or something, or needing like, you know, help with their getting a plate of food, or just, you know, balance beat their needs, like, it cuts into us being able to have a conversation, honestly. But we didn't have any kids, and that was like the first there with us on that trip. I feel like that was the first time I could see some of my sisters as like, I don't know, we like got together as women and as friends, and it was so fun to see them and realize like, oh my gosh, I love them so much. They're like the coolest women, and I'm so grateful for them and happy that they're my sisters. And I thought it was a cool experience that, well, and the other thing I realized is I don't think that these 3 women and I would necessarily be friends, like if we had met, you know, on the street or at work or whatever, because our lives are so different. But I realized like, what a cool gift that I get to be friends with these women who are different than me. But they're like so cool. And I'm so glad I had the opportunity to be friends with them, even though we might not have if we weren't sisters. Okay. So moral of the story is I loved having a big family. And although there were challenges, which we haven't really talked about, like the hard things about it necessarily, which I think some of the hard things about it were, you know, when my mom was having a baby when I was 17, almost 17, obviously she was busy. Like, my mom was busy for raising kids. So it wasn't like maybe as much one-on-one as someone who was an only child or someone whose parents only had a couple kids. So that was different, but it was all I knew. And I always knew that my parents were there, and they had my back. In fact, I was just thinking, as Tate was graduating, I was just thinking about how when I graduated, which you would have been little, like a year and a half-ish, my mom, like, she made this quilt for me that I still have, and she made this like video about like pictures of me growing up, and I'm like, I was thinking about it yesterday. I'm like, how did she have time to do that? I don't know, but she did.
Yeah, that's the one thing I guess we may never know how they did it. Still, like when people ask me that, like, how did your parents do that? I don't have any answers really, because that would have been just crazy busy all the time. Just thinking about like what it takes for one kid, and we were all in sports, so like
Yeah.
going to practices. I'm sure you were all in season at one point in time, just running around all day.
And they were there for it. Like I remember them being at like almost all my games. I don't know how they did that. We should. My mom's actually at our house right now. We should just pull her in and be like, "How did you do it?" The other interesting thing about my mom is she only has one arm, which sounds strange, probably, but when she's been on the podcast before. I can link to this episode, but when I was 12, almost 12, we were in a car accident. This was before Taylor was born. And in the car accident, my mom lost her left hand, like just below the elbow. And so I think that's part of the reason why they told us they were done having kids. And so all the things that we're just describing that she did as a mother of 9, she did it also with one arm.
Yeah.
Like the cooking, the cleaning. And I don't know what it was about her, but she just handled it. Like and maybe this is partly my dad too. We never had someone coming in and cleaning the house. We never had someone helping with the laundry. She cooked every single meal from scratch. Truly, how did that woman do this?
I don't know. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, every day. One arm. Yeah.
I'm like, wow, we really should go give her a hug.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing. Mothers are amazing. Any mother, whether you have one child, 9 children, shout out to the mothers.
Shout out moms everywhere.
Okay. This was a different kind of episode, a little just off the cuff, but I think it's been fun to talk to you about it and fun to like get your experience of it. Any other parting thoughts?
I don't think so. I'm a little peek into our world. Our family is all going to be back in Arizona. And the end of the summer, everyone will be back for the first time in I don't know how long.
Because I moved out
8 years. I don't
Yeah.
know. So I'm very excited for that, just to be close to everyone. Because I feel like whenever I do get a chance to, for example, our brothers, I hang out with them. I don't get to hang out as much with the brother that's just older than me, Doug, because he's been out of the house, out of the state for the past however many years. So,
And you're like 20 months apart?
yeah,
Is that right?
yeah, like a year and a half. So we're growing up, we were always, and we still are super close. We're best buddies growing up. So excited for them to be back and for my sister Kaylee and Gabe with their family to get back too. So it should be fun having everyone back in AZ.
Something to look forward to for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Taylor. Have a good week. And I think I like to always give like a takeaway from this episode. What it's having me think about is, are there relationships with my siblings that I want to prioritize more? And how can I do that? What does that look like? And just how grateful I am also to my mom in particular and my dad. Maybe I'll reach out to them too. Thank them for giving me the opportunity to have 8 awesome siblings. Okay. Have a good week.
Mine.
All right. So that is it for today's episode of the Family Brand Podcast.
But before you go, we have something fun for you.
Yeah. Like if you've ever wondered, okay, so how's our family culture actually doing? We've got an incredible quiz for that.
Good news, it's quick, it's free, and when you're done with that quiz, we'll even email you this awesome PDF full of practical ways to strengthen your family culture right away.
So all you have to do is go to familybrand.com/quiz, take the quiz, grab the PDF.
We'll see you next time.